Now, we all have been praying for a long time for peace in Jerusalem and in the Middle East, and finally the first group of hostages will be freed tomorrow, which is great. However, amen, at this time it must be heart-wrenching for the family members, for they do not know who is alive or not. Among the first 33 individuals that will be released, they actually don't know who is alive or who is not. Israel accepted the deal, dead or alive, in order for the families to be able to have a closure. Right? And if one relies on the testimonies of those who have been previously released, we know that they have been living in awful conditions for the last 469 days, right? The youngest, by the way, again, is 2 years old, and the oldest is 86 years old. On the other hand, Israel will be releasing, as of this morning, by the way, according to the Times of Israel, 1,904 prisoners against 33 prisoners, right? I don't quite understand the logic behind it, right? So the issue that becomes so disturbing is that in 2011, if you remember, when Hamas finally released, after 5 years of being a hostage, Gilad Shalit, while there was a celebration indeed, for he was finally brought home and alive in exchange for his freedom, Israel released 1,027 Palestinians who were imprisoned for terrorism. One of those released was Sinwar, who later became the mastermind behind the October 7 attack. So our prayers, by the way, today are for the families of the hostages, for the protection and salvation of Israel, and also for the innocent people living in Gaza, right? There for them. Now notice that there's a new image that is emerging from the Middle East, that of peace, right? See that Hamas in the West has been very badly damaged in the last 469 days. Hezbollah in the North has also been reduced in their military numbers and capabilities. Syria in the North as well is apparently not as aggressive, right, as before, right? The new government expressed desire to be at peace with Israel. Right? And the Palestinian authorities, the West Bank, are showing signs of desiring peace with Israel. So they have recently fought against groups within their own territory, preventing them from attacking Israel. Can all of this be in preparation for the eventual coming period of false peace that will cover the whole world before the tribulation begins, as Daniel spoke about, as John spoke about in Revelation? It could very well be, or at least in its early formation. It could be many, many years after, or it could be very soon as well. So Daniel the prophet, if you remember, spoke of a period of time, just to remind you, of 7-year tribulation, 3.5 years of peace, and where the first seal, actually, of Revelation 6 opens up. Then John speaks of 3.5 years. He mentions 1,260 days. He mentions 42 months, all being 3.5 years, but of world wars. This is the last, actually, part of it. Today, all the major players are in place, and peace is in the air. Okay, but we know that any peace treaty today will not last. Only Jesus can bring everlasting peace. This they should know, and we should tell them, and we should remind them. Furthermore, if you wonder how come the release of the hostages will occur on the 19th of January, it is because the day after, on the 28th of January, this coming Monday, is the inauguration of President Trump, who spoke actually these surprising words, right? And I want you to hear them. He said, if the hostages are not released prior to January 20, 2025, the date that I proudly assume office as President of the United States, there will be all hell to pay in the Middle East and for those in charge who perpetrated these atrocities against humanity. What did he mean by all hell to pay? One thing for sure is that Hamas, and surely Iran and perhaps other countries involved, took his words very seriously, for the US have the nuclear capability, and it seems that Trump is ready to use them. So they got scared of him. And so a day before his inauguration, they're beginning to the release of the hostages, which, as Trump said, atrocity against humanity was actually caused, right? All of this reminds us that we're living in times of great and often sudden changes around us, right? So let us see what this seemingly time of peace will bring to this world, and especially in Israel, and watch for the building of the third temple. There has never been a more fertile time as it is today. Let's see what the coming month will bring us. We'll be following the development very closely. But one thing is for sure, there's a lot of work to do. If all these things tell us that the Lord is coming very soon, let's go and get to work. And in fact, the subject of today has to do with the work that the Lord has endowed upon us so that we may go and preach the word.